Good morning, good afternoon, participants. Welcome to this webinar on national reporting under the Basel Convention. My name is Melissa Lim from the Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions, and I manage the area of work related to national reporting. I have with me here also providing technical support for this webinar, Artem Gladkik, who has been assisting you with your connections. So without further ado, we will start and additional participants can join as they come in. So today I'll take you through a brief overview of national reporting under the Basel Convention. This is an introductory webinar, and we will not go into deep detail about any of the aspects listed on this slide, but you can reach out to us after the webinar in case you need more detailed guidance on any of the aspects I will be talking about today. So I'll be explaining why it is important for parties to report and what it entails to report in terms of information that needs to be provided and how this can be provided to the Secretariat. At the end of the webinar, I will take you through a brief tour of a tool that we have made available to make the information on national reporting more widely accessible. And then I'll also highlight some of the resources that are available to parties to help them with national reporting. Why is it important to report? Generally speaking, this is a mechanism that is inherent to all international treaties, whereby countries come together and then they decide on a set of provisions of measures that they will take together to solve a global problem. As a result of this, they decide also that they will report to each other on the progress they have made in implementing the measures that they have agreed to. So, in a nutshell, this is the basis for national reporting. It is the provision of information so that parties can look at progress and decide how to make the international treaty, in this case the Basel Convention, more effective. The requirement to report is therefore inbuilt in the convention. It's an obligation. And all the information that needs to be transmitted in the national report is set out in Article 13. The convention also designates an entity, the focal point of the Basel Convention, as being responsible for transmitting the national report to the Conference of the Parties through the Secretariat. As I will explain later, reports are to be submitted using an electronic reporting system. So I've explained to you how the reports provide information for the Basel Convention parties to assess progress in implementation of the provisions. But it is also an information exchange mechanism, because at the heart of the Basel Convention is what we call the prior informed consent procedure, meaning it's a mechanism under which countries cannot export their waste to any other country unless they get permission to do so by the importing and transit countries. And the convention has strict provisions on this procedure. And the national report then provides a way for parties to exchange information that is needed to help make this procedure work more smoothly. The information that has been provided in the national reports have in the past been also used by the Conference of the Party and its subsidiary bodies in decision making. I have a few examples here, which is the strategic framework for the implementation of the convention. Its evaluation rested on information from national report. At the next COP, the meeting of the Conference of the Parties in 2025, parties will consider a new strategic framework. And here again, they will look at the provision of information from national reporting that would be needed for this framework and its evaluation. Then, of course, the information is used for awareness raising about the convention, and the Secretariat has published every 5 years or so a report called Waste Without Frontiers that relies heavily on national reporting data. And finally, for countries, the information they collect to provide in national reports can also be used for other type of monitoring or reporting frameworks. For example, the Sustainable Development Goals. Now let's turn to what parties have to report. As I've explained, this is set out in Article 13 of the Basel Convention, and parties have also agreed on a format for transmitting this information. This format is occasionally updated with information and questions that the Conference of the Parties determined to be useful for providing it with additional data. So there was a recent revision to the format by decision 14/10. And at this next COP next year, the Conference of the Parties will also consider additional changes to the format. So as a reminder, this format is has been translated into the electronic reporting system, and the deadline for submitting the report is 31 December of this year. That's to submit the report for the year 2023. So there's always 1 year of difference between the year of the report and the deadline for submitting it. Now I'll take you through some highlights of the reporting questionnaire. As I've explained, a lot of the information provided in there is to support implementation of the prior informed consent procedure. The questionnaire contains 7 questions and 9 tables, and it's actually designed in a way that makes it easy for parties to report, because a lot of this information we understand are not updated on a regular basis by the countries. They have to do with legislations for implementing the Basel Convention, the control procedures implemented in the country, such as the forms used for notification and disposal facilities that are available in the country. So this information is updated only occasionally by the countries. And what we therefore do is we pre-fill the questionnaire for each year with the information from the latest available report. What countries have to do then every year is to check that this information is still valid. And of course, if there has been a change, they have to update it. Now, there's some parts of the report where countries have to provide annual information. And these have mostly have to do with transboundary movements of waste that have happened in the reporting year. Of course, these have to be updated on every year because it relates to the reporting year in question. For example, the data on export and import of hazardous waste and other waste, or cases of illegal traffic that have taken place, which is to be reported in Table 9. And in all these cases, this is quantitative data about the actual movements of waste. So this was a very brief and quick overview of the content of the national report. I will direct you to the manual for completing the format, which has been developed by parties, and it's available on our website in all UN languages. Because the questionnaire itself is only available in English. However, to assist parties, the Conference of the Parties have asked that the format be translated in UN languages, and in this format, the questions are also available in the 6 UN languages. We also have on our website a manual for the electronic reporting system that gives some detail about how to use the system. But I will take you through that part of reporting in the next section of our webinar. So how do you fill in and submit the report? As explained, the format for national reporting has been transposed to an online questionnaire. Every year, after this has been made accessible on the website of the convention, we send an email to the focal points to remind them that the report is due and to provide them with the access codes for this system. And since it's the responsibility of the focal point to submit the report, we only send this to the focal point. After the report is submitted to through the system, this information is made publicly available on the website of the Basel Convention. What happens also is that the Secretariat undertakes some quality control to look at missing or unclear information, and that will then allow entry into the reporting database. So you may receive an email after you submit the report asking you for clarifications on some aspects. But this is not to question what is in the report, but more to get clarification so that we can then upload this in a reporting database and later on make this available in the reporting dashboard for further analysis, as I will explain. Now, to access the electronic reporting system, and we note that some countries have difficulties with this part when they reach our website, you have to go to the bottom of the web page as shown here, and you will see all the questionnaires, a link to all the questionnaires listed by year. So what this means is that the questionnaires for past years remain open. If you haven't submitted a questionnaire, let's say for 2020, you can still do that. Some countries see a login at the top part of the web page on the upper right side, and they think that this is how they access the ERS, but that's not the case. You really have to go to the link for each one of the questionnaires for each year at the bottom of the page. You will then reach this page shown on the slide where you have to provide the login and password. Again, this information is made available only to the focal point who's responsible for submitting the report. And we have created what is called an account recovery functionality to help focal points who have forgotten their passwords and username. So it's important to remember that this account recovery functionality will send the information to the email address of the focal point that we have on file. If the focal point has changed and this hasn't been transmitted to the secretariat, then we will this account function recovery functionality will not work because it will not be sending the information to the correct address. Let's now look at how the electronic reporting system presents the report. Every page looks pretty much like what you see now on your screen. So on the left side, you have a series of tabs that allow you to navigate through the pages of the questionnaire, which correspond to one of the tables or questions of the questionnaire. You can also navigate using the top navigation bar by going to the next page. In there, you also find features that allow you to save changes and to check for errors, as well as to download the entire report in the Word format. We've had feedback that this is useful for parties because they can then share the Word document with different entities or agencies in the country that provide the information to the focal point for completing the report. Okay. So other elements that are included to help countries understand the questions include a link to the relevant articles of the convention under each question. So for example, under question 3A on amendments to the Basel Convention for decision 3.1, there is a reference to the articles 13.2c, for example. One thing to note is that there are some questions that are marked with optional in red. What this means is that they are not mandatory. These are information that parties have decided would be useful to have, but countries are not mandated to provide those. Any other questions that is not marked by optional means that the provision of information for this question is mandatory. And this will link to a process that is undertaken by the Implementation and Compliance Committee that reviews the reporting performance by countries. And so the committee then looks at each report and whether countries have provided a complete report. And so complete is referring to the provision of information for mandatory questions. You have several ways to fill in the questionnaire depending on the questions and the information you have available. So you have the multiple choice, which is a yes or no answer, and which is fairly simple, right? So these are designed to make it easy for countries to answer the questions. And then once, for example, you answer yes to a question, you may have the question that opens up to ask for more detail. Here, for example, it's about the national definition of waste, and depending on what's more convenient for countries, they can choose to provide that as free text in the text box, or it might be easier to upload a file referring to a national legislation, for example. Now, regarding tables, they should also be relatively straightforward to fill in. Some of them have drop-down menus that allow you to select specific entries. As in the case of table 4, this is one of the core tables of the national reports because it refers to amounts of waste that have been imported, or in this case exported, and table 5 refers to the amount of waste that are imported. And here there are specific requirements for how to report this information in table 4. Including providing the codes of the Basel Convention for under which this waste has been shipped, the characteristics, meaning, well, the hazardous characteristics in Annex 3, the amount and the countries of transit, and also the disposal operations. Now, most of this information comes directly from the notification forms that are associated with the prior informed consent procedures, if you're familiar with that. Here again, we provide the option of providing this information line by line, and this might be helpful for countries that only have a few shipments, right? If you do 10 shipments a year, and it's easier for you to click on these drop-down menus that you will access when you reach this table, and just provide this information in that way. However, some countries have thousands of shipments every year, or at least they approve them. And in that case, it's less cumbersome to import the data directly into this table using the import function. So here there's a Excel sheet template that is provided for on this page that countries download. They enter their data into the sheet and then they load the file and import it. And this is a feature that's specific for Table 4 and Table 5 of the national report. Some more useful features to pay attention to is the check for errors. So on each page, you can at any time click on this button, and an alert will appear to flag some information or some question that may be incomplete or invalid. Here I have to highlight that the fact that you have such an alert doesn't prevent you from submitting a report. Again, is just to emphasize that a lot of the information is pre-filled from the latest available report. And in particular, for question 1A and 1B, you are asked to check, and you're given the possibility to update the information in the report in question 1B in this case, so that we can then update our database. This is just to show you that you're able to upload supporting documents after you update the information, and these supporting documents then will be used to validate this information. I've already explained how you can import data into tables 4 and 5, and please remember that you can only do that if you use the Excel template that's downloadable from the website. It's also very important to adhere to the validation rules that are available on this website for the data to be easily imported into the system. Finally, when you reach the last page of the reporting questionnaire, you will see that on the top bar menu, a button will appear to allow you to submit the national report. On this page, we also provide you with the possibility of suggestions and comments. You have about the questionnaire. And then, yes, if you're ready, you can click on Submit National Report. The first time you do that, what will happen is that you'll get an alert that highlights pages that may contain incomplete or invalid information. So you can then go back to these pages and check whether you have filled in or you have the information to fill in the incomplete part. And then you can just come back to this page and you click a second time and you should be able to submit. So again, the alerts are not there to prevent you from submitting a report. It's just to help you in finding questions that might need attention. Some countries at this point have trouble submitting. It has to do with sometimes the setup in their computer or some IT difficulties. If that happens to you, you can simply write to us and we will help you submit it. This is just a reminder of some of the elements that I have already highlighted. And lastly, here on this slide, you see mention of tables 7, 8, and 9. For these tables, there is a template provided on the website, an Excel template, which countries are encouraged to use, but there's no feature for you to load this information into the website as is provided for table 4 and 5. Some countries get confused about this and they feel frustrated about why they cannot load the data. So this is to let you know that it is only possible to do that for table 4 and 5. But of course, any information you upload onto through the ERS is available in the report. It just won't appear in the table. I will take questions on the presentation in a few minutes, but now I'll just take you very quickly through what we call the reporting dashboard. So this is a tool we made available because when you go to the website of the convention, you will find the reports for all parties for all the years submitted, but as individual reports. So if you want then to do an analysis, as has been requested by the Conference of the Parties for various purposes, it is difficult because you want to look at this data in an aggregated form. By that, I mean to look at implementation across years or across countries, right? So to get a more global picture. And so we developed this tool to make the data accessible in this way. And you can access this through the website of the convention using the link shown here. And it's organized like the convention, like the reporting format, with a functionality for each question. Right, and so here is just showing you, I think, a functionality that's quite useful for parties, and It's called the status of submission of national report. Here for sometimes focal points change and they want to know what has happened in the past in terms of report submission. You can just go here and in one click look at what's happened in the past. You can also look at what other countries have done. The output of the dashboard can be either in bar charts depending on the questions, and also you can look, for example, and this might be useful, at the definition of waste across countries, right? So, and here you have different graphic output for these questions. You can also have them in tables that can be downloaded. Now, if you're trying, for example, to develop legislation on an aspect, it can help to look at what other countries have been doing, and so you can download this very easily in the dashboard. Table 4 on export. Again, it gives you different types of outputs and also a map showing the intensity of the activity. For table 4, upon request, we have included a number of filters, so countries can really examine this data in different ways. You can query by year, by different codes, country of destination, or disposal operation. So this is just showing you how it works. Now, finally, here is leaving you with the link for the reporting dashboard. And to remind you that we also have an equivalent tool for the Stockholm Convention for those who are interested. All national reports are available to be consulted individually, not just through the dashboard, but as individual reports on the convention website, at the link shown on this slide. The formats are also available in paper form and can be downloaded from the convention website. We put there also all revisions that have been adopted by the Conference of the Parties. And over the years, there's been a number of documents and guidance developed to assist parties in national reporting. Some of these have been developed by the Implementation and Compliance Committee. Some of these have been developed by the Secretariat at the request of the COP. And here I draw your attention to the guidance on the inventories of priority waste streams towards helping country to fill in table 6 of the national report, amongst other things. And the priority waste streams have included lead acid batteries, plastic waste, waste oils. And currently the COP will be considering whether to request the Secretariat to develop similar guidance on biomedical and clinical waste. We also provide technical assistance on national reporting, which takes the form of webinars, of workshops, and this in collaboration with the regional centers. And the Implementation and Compliance Committee also has a program to help countries become compliant. It's not a punitive measure. It's really to help countries submit their national reports. So there are a number of countries that are currently have projects, compliance plans with the committee to help them develop an inventory of hazardous waste and develop the legislation to implement the Basel Convention, and thereby be able to submit a national report. Also, you should not forget the special program, which is a funding program to help countries, amongst other things, to submit national reports and comply with their obligations for the chemicals and waste conventions. So I've put the link to this program here, and several countries have in the past benefited from grants to help them submit national reports or improve them. So on that note, and before I open the floor to questions, let me remind you that the report for the year 2023 is due by 31 December 2024. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. You have my email address and the national reporting inbox address on this website. Thank you very much.